Hey, Kristin Wierenga here, National Executive Director with Pampered Chef outside of Seattle, Washington. I'm really excited today to talk with you about recruiting with your Pampered Chef business. We're going to take kind of like 30 minutes to take a deep dive, as deep as we can go in 30 minutes, into what I like to think of as the 4 steps to recruiting. So when you think about recruiting, I firmly believe if you can think of it in a 4-step process. So the first step is creating desire. Okay, you're creating desire for the business opportunity. The second step is then you're asking. You're asking folks to join your team. And the third step is having the one-on-one conversation with people, actually talking with them one-on-one about the business. And the fourth step is the close or wrapping it up and inviting them to join your team. And I love this picture on this slide because this business is so much more fun to do with friends. It's so much more fun to do with like-minded people. And it gets to be a lot of fun when you create friendships and you have these people that you go through this journey of the business with. So that first step is creating desire. So when we talk about creating desire for the business, think about it in your parties, on social media, you're probably creating desire for the products. But ask yourself, are you also creating desire for the business opportunity and for joining your team? So I'm going to share with you a few examples of how I do this in my parties. So each day of my party, I have a recruiting post. And here are some examples of what I might post in my party. And I have 1 recruiting post a day. That way, I know that I'm planting the seed for recruiting each day of the party, specifically for the business, and it gives me a chance to follow up with people who like or comment on those posts. So for the first example here is me sitting out with some stoneware, and this is all about getting free product. This specific post is creating desire for the fact that you can do this and get things for free. So for me personally, how I basically organize these posts is each one is talking about a different perk. And I highlight the different perks that I enjoy, and I share my own photos with these. And then that way it's a way for me to highlight the perks and pull each perk out. So that first one is the fact that, I got these free. It's a picture of me with my products. Anyone can do this. Any products that you get, pile them on your counter in a nice, beautiful way in the kitchen and take a picture with it. And you can talk about the perks of getting free product. And then I always like to ask a question for them to answer in the comments. So in this particular case, I said, if you could earn any product for free, what would you pick? And then another day, one of my posts is about recognition and rewards. And I ask them what their favorite perk of their current job is. And I talk about some of the perks and recognition I enjoy receiving with Pampered Chef, from free goodies in the mail to top achiever awards, like just feeling appreciated and having those carrots to go after and those incentives and that recognition is so fun. Again, this is really easy for anyone to do. You get something for free in the mail, or you get an award or your name tag from conference, things like that. Take pictures with those, and you can use those kinds of things in recruiting posts like this, for example, in your parties. Here's some other examples of some posts. So the one on the left is about travel. And it is absolutely one of my favorite perks with this business is being able to travel and check things off my bucket list that we would never have been able to afford otherwise. And so there's pictures here of me in Greece, and it was a trip that we were able to take because of Pampered Chef. And I asked them if they could travel anywhere, what's at the top of their travel bucket list. Of course, not everyone has pictures of them in Greece. You can totally do this with a weekend away. If you go to the beach with your family, if you take your spouse out on a little getaway or something. I mean, there's so many different ways that you could highlight a travel perk. If travel is a perk that you enjoy, again, you could pick a different perk and talk about it, and then end with a question for them to engage with the post. Another example of a recruiting post is the one on the right. And this is a generic one of me asking them what they would do with extra income if they had extra income every month. And I specifically talk about how we have goals as a family. And one of our goals is to pay off our mortgage before we both turn 38. And it's a big goal, but we're really working hard towards that. So I'm not saying that Pampered Chef is helping me pay off my mortgage, which might not necessarily be kosher with the guidelines that we have out. But that idea that I'm planting the seed for that, people are gonna be like, wow, like if she could consider doing that, then she must be doing pretty well with her Pampered Chef business. And then I asked if they have extra income, what they would like to do with it. Another great example that I've seen for recruiting posts is like if you go to a coffee shop or if you work at the park and your kids are playing, take a picture of you working, and you can put, one of my favorite perks about this business is the flexibility and freedom, and I can literally work from anywhere. Guess where you think the craziest place is that I've worked in my Pampered Chef business. I mean, there's so many different examples you could use for this, but this is how I specifically create desire for the business opportunity. There's many other ways you can do it too, but the whole point is that you're creating desire for the business, not just for products. So then after I've created that desire, then I do a post that's Q&A time, and I give them the chance to ask me any question about the business. And this Q&A has been around for so long, it's probably not anything new, but the whole point of putting that Q&A in there into your parties is to do that after you've created desire, or at least had a few days of a couple recruiting posts so far in the party, so that they have this desire, their interest has been piqued. Maybe they do have some questions, maybe they just want to get some bonus tickets. Either way, it's a great way to throw it out there and start answering questions. Now, when someone asks a question, I always make sure to not hit the reply to answer their question. Instead, I make it a new comment and I tag them in the new comment. And then that way, anyone who's just scrolling can see the answer without having to click on the reply that's buried and not obvious to them when they're just doing the scroll. So this is a great way for everyone to see the questions and the answers. If you don't have people who are really taking advantage of asking questions, ask your host to go in there and post a couple of starter questions, and she can just grab some ideas to steal off the post. You could even go in there and be like, oh, let's get this party started. I'll ask and answer a couple questions, and then you can just ask and answer yourself. And then that will start to get maybe more people intrigued on that as well. So those are some ideas on how to create desire for the business opportunity in your parties. Now, I want to talk about the step of asking. Okay, so you create this desire, you have people engaging with your posts. Now you have to make sure that you actually go out there and that you ask them to join your team. And you would be surprised at how many people sometimes will even start considering it, even just by being a part of the party experience. And if you don't ask them, you would never know. So let's talk about that first with the guests. So on the right-hand side of the screen, you see words to use to ask everyone who commented in the party, ideally 10 plus people. So you want to focus on asking every single person that commented. I always start with asking about the business, and then I go for the booking. And they're more likely to say yes to the booking if they already said no to the business. So anyone who's commenting, engaging in the party and commenting on posts, go ahead and ask them about the business. Open that conversation up. And so the words I use are like, hey, Susan, you were such a rock star in Sally's Pampered Chef party. Thank you so much for all of your comments. You helped make the party fun. Have you ever thought about doing something like Pampered Chef before? I feel like you'd be great at it. And so those are words you can use. And by the way, these slides, I will go ahead and put right into the comments, the description of this YouTube video, so that you can access these words and you can access these slides if you just look in the description of the YouTube video. Now, though, that's how you would approach a guest, or at least that's how I do it. That's how I teach my team to do it. When you ask your host, I always ask my host 5 times, and here are the words I use. So the first ask, which is about 1 week before the party, I let them know about the kit coupon and ask if they've ever thought about doing something with Pamper Chef before. I love that question because it's very open-ended. It really opens the door to conversation, and it's open-ended, so I have opportunity to kind of explore the conversation. The second ask that I send is the 3rd day of invites. And so I'll say, hey, Susie, one more thing for today. You might not have booked a party thinking about this, but if you'd like to spend $99 or pick one of these kits today before your show starts, I'll let you make the money on the show instead of me. You'll still get all the host rewards too. On average, you'll make 100 plus on the party. Let me know if you're interested or have questions today. So I do offer to flip their party before orders start coming in. If they already have orders by that point, then I might wait until their party hits $200 so that they could get the $25 kit coupon. And then I could go ahead and give them the rest of the orders, but not all parties have orders by that 3rd day of invites because the party hasn't even started yet. So I do offer to turn that into the kickoff party before we get going. And then the 3rd ask is on party day 2. And I'll say something like, wow, your party's really rocking. It looks like your friends love you and Pampered Chef. You're going to have an amazing party. Have you given any more thought to trying this yourself? It looks like you would have a good support system. So again, a different ask. It has different twists to it. So these asks are not the same. They have a different purpose. This one is a compliment, and it really gives them the chance to kind of think about it some more. And then the 4th ask, the last day of the party, I say something like, hey, last day of the party, would seriously love to have you on our team. You're so fun to have done such a wonderful job posting and interacting this week. I have no doubt you would rock this, want to give it a whirl. Now, if they were not a great host and they sucked it up, I probably would not say this exact thing, but I would still offer it to them. Find something that they did well. Find literally one compliment, and usually we can find one compliment them on that thing, and then do your ask about, want to give it a whirl. And then the 5th ask is the day after the party closes. So this is before they put their host order in. All the guest orders have come in by now. So we kind of have an idea of maybe where they're going to land. And I always make sure that I have either a kit coupon to offer them or I have bookings to offer them. So I will say, before we close up your party, I just wanted to double check. Are you sure you don't want to take advantage of the kit coupon you have available? That's if they have a kit coupon, if their party is at $200. If they have no kit coupon, party hasn't qualified, I'm going to work my buns off to get them a booking or two so I can offer them the booking. And I'll say, before we close up your party, I just want to double check. Are you sure you don't want to get started with Pampered Chef? And I'll give you the bookings off your party to get started. Okay, so that's basically how I do like my last Hail Mary. Are you sure before we close up this, you have this on the table for you as something that you can use? Are you sure you don't want to use it? So that is how I ask my guests and how I ask my hosts. So the next step is to explore. It's exploring the conversation. Now we get into the one-on-one conversation, right? We're going to go into this one-on-one with them. We created the desire in the party. Now we're asking one-on-one, either in text or in Facebook message. They respond back, and now we're having this one-on-one conversation. So I have a formula I follow for how I respond in these one-on-one conversations. So usually, pretty much automatically, what's going to happen is you're going to get a no with a reason. And that reason is their objection. And so when I write back to them, when I get that objection, I create a small, short response that is comprised of 3 or 4 sentences maximum. So the first sentence in my response is a validation sentence. And on the screen here, I put some examples, like, you pick one of these, you wouldn't put all of them. Like, I totally get that. or that's a valid concern, or I understand for sure, or I know what you mean, I know how that goes. All of those are validation sentences, so you could pick one of those. It just basically is saying, I hear what you're saying, I hear you. And then you offer solution in sentence number 2 to their objection. So they're going to give you an objection, and it's just like a friend coming to you with a problem. You're going to want to talk with your friend and try and overcome that problem with them and try and find solutions with your friend. Same thing. It's great to try and like offer a solution. You want to help them see that this still could be a great opportunity for them. So if they say, I'm too busy, I don't have enough time, or I can't with my crazy schedule, anything around time, or I have too much going on, then I share an example here of words I would use for that. Like, the beautiful thing about Pampered Chef is that it comes right alongside everything else you already have going on in life. You can do as little or as much as you like. It's very flexible. And I share some other examples here, like, I'm not a salesperson. I don't know enough people. I don't know anyone. I have health issues. I don't have enough funds to order the kit. I actually have an entire document of a bunch of words I use for every objection that comes up. And I will also link that in the description of the YouTube video, so you can grab that document as well. It's a Google Doc and it's a couple pages long. Every objection you might possibly get, there's words to use in there. So that's the second sentence. And then the third sentence is asking a question. So technically not a sentence, but it's asking a question. And so here are some sample questions I like to ask. You would choose one and you would respond back with that. So this gives you basically a formula you can follow when you're having this one-on-one conversation. So another way to look at it is like the recruiting objection sandwich. So you're going to basically sandwich the objection, and that top part of the sandwich is validating. So you're going to take a sentence, sentence number 1 is going to validate, like take an example there, and then you're going to overcome the objection. That's the center of the sandwich, that's the meat of the sandwich. That's really probably the most important part of this, is overcoming that objection. You're going to pull a sentence from the linked document, and then the last piece of this sandwich, and then you're sandwiching that objection, you're going to ask the question. And so then there's even more examples on this page of different questions that you can ask. So this is a formula you can follow when you're having those one-on-one conversations to, really build confidence in knowing that you can have these one-on-one conversations. You can overcome their objections, so long as you don't allow fear or a lack of confidence or a lack of belief get in your way. I oftentimes find that folks, when they're not successful with recruiting, it's not because they don't necessarily know what to say. It's that they get scared, or they don't want to keep asking. They get in their head. They're afraid. There's a lack of confidence and belief. And if you truly believe in your heart of hearts that this is something that could be good for someone, then, and you truly are thinking about them, and you're thinking about how could this help them? How could this be good for them? And you can actually yourself see and feel and visualize what this business could do for them. It is so much easier for you to use this recruiting objection sandwich to overcome those objections, to keep that conversation going, because you genuinely feel like this business would be good for them. So how do you get to a place where you genuinely feel it could be good for them, where you visualize what this could be for them? It's through asking really good questions and listening. And the questions I have that I use here in examples, they do just that. It's like, what intrigues you or excites you about the idea of doing Pampered Chef? I want to know. I want to know what excites them. If they had extra income, what would they do with it? I want to know, right? I want to know how is this going to benefit them? What skills or strengths do they have that would serve them well in doing something like Pampered Chef? These are all ways that I ask this so that I myself can understand and feel and believe and visualize how Pampered Chef would be good for them and how it could fit in their life. And when I truly firmly believe that, it is so much easier for me to authentically and genuinely overcome objections with someone. So here are a couple just quick tips when you're in this one-on-one conversation of things to do and things to avoid, okay? So things to do ask questions. Do ask questions, okay? Like get to know them, genuinely care about their situation, genuinely care about their circumstance, ask questions. Don't write a novel response. We're not here to barf all over them, to write them paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. Like keep it short and keep it sweet, okay? And you can use this 3-sentence formula that I shared. Do get to know them. We just talked about that. Get to know them, get to know their situation. How is this going to help them? And don't talk about yourself. Don't talk about yourself in these conversations. So I believe that the party is the opportunity for me to talk about myself. I'm going to create desire through talking about myself, talking about my favorite perks, talking about the opportunity. But once I get into that one-on-one conversation, like it is all about them. I'm not sharing my experience because they can't relate to my experience, most likely because their experience is not the same. Their situation is not the same as mine. So how is it going to help them if I just talk about myself the whole time? It's not. They're not going to see themselves in that story because it's my story. It's not their story, right? Do actively listen, not just, oh, I'm going through the motions and I'm just asking questions, ask questions. Like you really want to pay attention and don't skip over what they say, like address what they say. This is kind of like a rookie mistake. And I see this a lot is someone just like, they hear an objection and they don't even address it. They just like skip over it. And so if you hear an objection, like you really want to get to the root of that objection so that you can make sure that there's nothing standing in the way of that person joining your team. Do answer clearly and concisely. Okay, clearly and concisely. This goes back to like the short, the sweet, the simple. Keep it short and sweet, answer clearly and concisely, and don't overshare. So if they start asking you questions, answer what they're asking instead of going off on like, oh, you want to know how much it costs? Okay, here's how much it costs. And did you know you can also earn the monthly special and you can earn this incentive trip? And here's the whole point structure and how you do it. And oh, you want to know about insurance? And here's how much it is for insurance or this, that, the other. Like, don't overshare, don't word vomit, just really like keep it short and concise and sweet, okay? Also, keep the conversation going with questions. Keep it going with questions so that you have that opportunity to go back and forth with them. You don't want it to go quiet for too long. Like I want to constantly have a back and forth. So if you asked a question and they haven't responded back in like 24 hours, go back and check in with them. Hey, did my last message come through okay? I was just thinking of you. I hope you're having a great day. So you want to keep that just going boom, 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 back and forth. And you do that with questions. Always, always, always end your message with a question. Don't say, let me know, or let the conversation trail off without asking them to join. This is another rookie mistake I see a lot is someone will be having a conversation and then they don't actually even invite the person to order their kit. It's like, okay, we had this great conversation. Like, let me know what you think, like, or think about it, go think about it and what, whatever. And then it just like trails off into nowhere. So you really want to make sure that you actually invite them to order their kit. And we're going to talk about that in a second. And then follow up, especially if they need to talk to a spouse. Follow up with them. If they need to talk to their spouse, give them that space and time to follow up, 24 hours, and then check back in with them. Okay. So just a few do's and don'ts there that I think are helpful. Now, the last step here is going a little bit deeper and actually inviting them to join. So it's closing, it's wrapping it up and put a bow on it, it's inviting them to join. So I included here on the screen just some answers to common questions like, what's required? How much do I have to sell? What's the cost to join? How much in commission can you make? If you're not sure what to say, or you want to know what other people say when they get those kinds of questions, I included words on that. But the whole point here is to invite them to join and invite them to order your kit. And so on the top right, I include the words I like to use. So I'll say something like, I have an idea. What if you got a kit today? We could get you rolling on some parties and you could have your first check on and then put the date by when they could have their first payday, like when their first actual viable payday is. So you might have to think about that, like, okay, when could we get some orders in by, and then when would that mean that they would get paid? But that makes it very real. And then they're like, oh gosh, okay, like I could have a check already in a couple weeks. And then I end it with, what do you think? So that is always how I wrap up my conversations. Now, I sometimes get asked, like, when do I know when to ask this question? When do I know that it's time to ask them to order their kit? And it really depends on the conversation. But if you want a concrete example, I would say after you've asked at least 3 to 4 questions, which means you've gone back and forth with them 3 to 4 times. You've asked them if they have any other questions that you can answer. And then you go ahead and go in and invite them to order their kit. So you don't want to ask too soon where you guys haven't really explored the conversation very much. You know, go back and forth a little bit, ask 2, 3 questions, maybe 4. Make sure that you ask, and you'll see it on this slide. Do you have any other questions? Or are you ready to order your kit today? That's another way you could ask them to order their kit. What questions or concerns do you have about the idea of possibly doing Pampered Chef? I always like to make sure I ask that question. What concerns or questions do you have about the idea of doing Pampered Chef? Because I want to get any objection out that I possibly can, that I possibly need to get out. And then that way I can address every single objection. So after I've done that, and I've gone back and forth with them a little bit, then I'm going to go ahead and invite them to join. Now you're going to get some common responses like, I'm just not ready yet, or it's just not the right time, or I'd love to, but I don't have any money to sign up, or I'm still not sure. Those are still objections. Like, it means there's something holding them back, and we just have to figure out what that is. So don't shy away from that. It just means that we haven't uncovered what's truly holding them back, and we just need to ask some more questions. So if you get those kinds of responses when you invite them to order their kit, then here are some words you can use when you get into those types of situations with them. So I hope these words are helpful for you as well. Okay, let's talk lastly about follow-up, because we talked about those 4 steps. We talked about how to create desire, how to ask, how to have the one-on-one conversation. We just finished about how we invite them to join. Now, what happens if someone like does not actually want to join your team? Like, for sure, like you tried all the things and there is just not going to happen right now. Like, you want to respect that, because you want to make sure that they, you don't burn that bridge. Like, you want to make sure that you still have the opportunity, and you do really want to make sure that the timing is right. Like, I have a now executive in our organization. It took me 2 years of checking in with her every once in a while before she finally signed up. 2 years, and now she's an executive director in our organization. So don't push it too hard. You'll know when you kind of come across that, like, okay, I feel like I just kind of need to let this rest. I don't want to burn this bridge right here, but you want to make sure that you also explore the conversation enough. And with time, with experience, you'll get into that flow where you can sense when it's a good time to kind of put them on the follow-up list. And so I like to ask, like, if I know for sure that it's not the right time, I'll say something like, is it okay if I send you the specials from time to time when we have some recruiting specials? And they usually say yes. And so have a system for that. Like, keep an Excel spreadsheet, keep a notebook, put their name somewhere, maybe take some notes on them, like what some of their main concerns were or some of their objections were. And then stay organized. And that's kind of goes hand in hand with having a system. But I always know exactly where my names are listed of the people I've had conversations with, and it wasn't necessarily at the right time. And I explored all the options with them. And so I always know exactly where to go to find that list. And I'm keeping up with them consistently when new specials come out. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And one thing that I did not include that I should have included a slide for is I would love to have you guys like take a picture here at the end, or take a boomerang of me talking. Just hold your phone up and go ahead and take a boomerang. Boomerangs are the best. Pictures, you can get funny faces sometimes, and tag me, share in your stories and tag me on Instagram. My handle is at Kristin M. There's an M in the middle, Kristin M. Wierenga. So take a boomerang, take a picture if you want, take a short little video clip here at the end, and go tag me. I'd love to see who's watching and see who's taken notes for this recruiting training. And I really enjoyed talking through this today for you. And I cannot wait to hear back from your leader on how this was helpful for you and what you want to do with it in your business. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your training. Bye.